I ran my fingers along the blade one last time, admiring how the metallic paint caught the afternoon light. 3 weeks of work, and it was finally perfect. The medieval sword looked like something straight out of a fantasy movie. Foam core, resin coating, hand-painted Celtic designs that I'd spent hours perfecting with a tiny brush. This is going to blow everyone's mind, I whispered to myself, grinning. Marcus and I had been hosting Halloween parties for 5 years now, ever since we got married. It was our thing, our tradition. But this year, I wanted it to be special. Maybe because things had been so tense lately. Maybe because I missed the old Marcus, the one who used to laugh at my jokes and hold my hand while we watched movies. I grabbed my phone and snapped a photo of the sword, then texted it to Diana. Finally finished. What do you think? Her response came within seconds. OMG. That's incredible. You're so talented. I'm coming early to help set up. I smiled. Diana had been my best friend since college. She'd never let me down. I added her to the group chat I'd created with Beth, my cousin, and Sarah, my neighbor. Marcus was handling his work friends. Richard, his intimidating boss. Tom, the colleague he actually liked, and some new guy named Jake. 30 people total. Our house was going to be packed. I strapped the sword to my hip, testing how it looked with my warrior queen costume. The leather-looking dress fit perfectly, and with the crown and knee-high boots, I looked powerful, fierce, everything I hadn't felt in months. Marcus walked past my craft room, barely glancing inside. Still working on that thing? It's done, I said, trying to keep the hurt out of my voice. Look how good it turned out. He paused for half a second. Nice. Then he was gone, his phone pressed to his ear, muttering something about quarterly reports. I stared at the empty doorway. 6 months ago, he got that promotion. 6 months of watching him become someone I barely recognized. Paranoid, distant, always suspicious about something. I'd catch him watching me sometimes with this look in his eyes, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. It's just stress, I told myself, the same thing I'd been saying for weeks. The party will fix things. We'll reconnect. I had no idea how wrong I was. The fog machine filled our living room with artificial mist, and orange lights cast everything in an eerie glow. I adjusted my crown in the hallway mirror, making sure my costume looked perfect. The sword hung at my side, solid and reassuring. Marcus appeared behind me in his vampire costume. For a moment, just a moment, I saw appreciation in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by that distant expression I'd come to hate. You look great, I offered. Thanks. He checked his watch. People should start arriving soon. The doorbell rang before I could respond. Diana burst in, her witch costume complete with a pointed hat and a broom. Happy Halloween! She thrust a container at me. Pumpkin cookies. Made them this morning. You're the best. I hugged her tight. And that sword. She touched it carefully. That sword is insane. You're so talented. Thanks. I'm really proud of how it... The doorbell rang again. Beth and Kevin arrived dressed as pirates, followed quickly by Sarah and her boyfriend James in zombie makeup. Within 20 minutes, our house was full of people, music, laughter, the smell of pumpkin spice and apple cider. I moved through the crowd, making sure everyone had drinks, checking on the food. This was what I'd wanted. Our home filled with friends, everyone having fun. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I spotted Marcus in the corner with Richard. His boss stood there in a detective costume, looking stern even at a party. Marcus's jaw was clenched, his shoulders tight. They were having one of those serious work conversations that never seem to end anymore. I walked over. Hey, everything okay? Richard smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Just talking shop. Great party. He excused himself quickly, disappearing into the crowd. Marcus? I touched his arm. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. He pulled away. I need to check on something. He left me standing there feeling stupid in my warrior queen costume. Around me, people laughed and danced, but suddenly I felt very alone. There she is. Tom's voice cut through my thoughts. He approached with his wife Lisa, both grinning. That costume is amazing. Is that sword real? I forced a smile. I made it. Took me 3 weeks. No way. Jake appeared dressed as a gladiator. You made that yourself? More people gathered around. James, a couple of guys from Marcus's office I'd met once or twice. They all wanted to see the sword, asking questions about how I'd done it. Their genuine interest warmed something inside me that had gone cold. The detail work is insane, I explained, unstrapping the sword from my belt. I had to layer the paint multiple times to get this metallic effect. That's when I said it. Those words that would destroy everything. I held the sword up, angling it so the light hit the blade just right. The metallic paint shimmered, making it look almost real. Jake's eyes widened. This is incredible craftsmanship. Did you really make this yourself? Every single part, I said, feeling proud for the first time in weeks. The blade, the hilt, even the Celtic designs. Here you can touch it if you want. Feel how solid it is. Tom reached out, running his fingers along the edge. His expression was pure appreciation. Wow, it even feels real. What's it made of? I launched into an explanation of my process. The foam core for structure, the resin coating for durability, the multiple layers of paint and sealant. It felt good to talk about something I loved, something I was good at. Can I hold it? James asked. Of course. Pass it around. Everyone can touch it. I'm so proud of how it turned out. The sword moved from hand to hand. Each person examined it carefully, asking questions about materials, techniques, how long each step took. I answered enthusiastically, riding the high of their interest. I can teach anyone who wants to learn, I offered. I'm actually thinking of starting a YouTube channel for prop making. You know, tutorials and stuff. They laughed, encouraging me. Someone asked about other props I'd made. Someone else wanted to know where I'd learned the techniques. It was such a normal, happy conversation. Just people bonding over a shared interest in creativity. I didn't notice Marcus. I didn't see him, standing 20 feet away, near the kitchen doorway, carrying 2 drinks. I didn't see him freeze when he heard my voice floating across the room. You can touch it. Male laughter. Everyone can touch it. More laughter. I didn't see his face go pale. Didn't see the drink slip from his hands, crashing to the floor with a sound that made everyone jump. The music kept playing, but every conversation stopped. Everyone turned. Marcus stood there, broken glass at his feet, his face white as death. Then red. His hands were shaking. What the hell is going on here? His voice cut through the party like a blade. Sharp, cold, lethal. The sword was still in Jake's hands. Everyone in our circle froze, confusion written on their faces. Marcus? My voice came out small, uncertain. What's wrong? He stormed toward us, and I actually took a step back. I'd never seen him look like this. Eyes wild, face contorted with rage and something else. Pain. Raw, devastating pain. What's wrong? He stopped right in front of me. What's wrong? The entire party went silent. Someone turned off the music. 30 pairs of eyes locked on us. You're standing here telling every man at this party they can touch it? Are you insane? Are you trying to humiliate me in my own house? The words hit me like physical blows. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what he was saying. Marcus, what are you talking about? I gestured at the sword. I was showing them my sword. The prop I made. They were asking about it, he laughed. Actually laughed. But it was the most horrible sound I'd ever heard. Your sword, right? That's what we're calling it now? The implications sank in slowly, like poison spreading through my veins. Horror must have shown on my face because he laughed again. Are you serious right now? I couldn't even finish the thought. The accusation was too disgusting, too unthinkable. You think I was... Around us, people started whispering. I saw Mrs. Peterson cover her mouth. Saw Richard's wife Margaret lean toward her friend, already spreading gossip. Some people looked away, embarrassed. Others watched with horrible fascination, like we were a reality TV show. Diana pushed through the crowd. Marcus, you've got this all wrong. She was literally showing us the costume prop she made. Look! She grabbed the sword from Jake, holding it up. Look at it! Marcus barely glanced at it. I know what I heard. His voice was quieter now, but somehow worse. I heard her say it. Multiple men. Everyone can touch it. Don't gaslight me. His voice broke on the last words, and I realized something terrible. He genuinely believed this. He actually thought I'd been propositioning men at our own party. Marcus, please. I reached for his arm, desperate to make him understand. Let's talk about this privately. He jerked away like I'd burned him. Privately? You didn't want privacy when you were inviting half the male population to... He stopped, his face twisting. He couldn't even finish the sentence. Tom stepped forward, hands raised peacefully. Hey man, there's been a serious misunderstanding. She was talking about the sword. We were all just admiring her craftsmanship. Nothing inappropriate happened, Marcus whirled on him. Stay out of this. This is between me and my wife. Richard appeared, putting a hand on Marcus's shoulder. His face was carefully neutral. Let's all calm down. This is clearly a miscommunication. Miscommunication? Marcus's voice rose again. I know what I heard. Marcus! I was crying now, tears streaming down my face, ruining my carefully applied makeup. Please, you know me. You know I would never... I thought I knew you. He looked at me with such disgust, such hatred, that something inside me shattered. Get out. What? I couldn't have heard him right. Get out of my house. The scream echoed off the walls. The party's over. Everyone leave now. People grabbed their coats in a panicked rush. No one looked at me. Beth tried to catch my eye, her face full of concern, but Kevin pulled her toward the door. Sarah and James left without a word. Tom and Lisa hesitated, but Richard ushered them out. Diana refused to move. I'm not leaving her here like this. It's okay. I could barely speak through my tears. Just go, please. No, this is insane. He's being completely... Diana, please. I grabbed her hand. I'll call you. I promise. Just go. She hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. Call me, she whispered fiercely. I'll come back if you need me. Beth and Kevin lingered at the door. We can stay, Beth said. I shook my head, ushering them out. When the last guest left, I closed the door and leaned against it. The house was a disaster. Half-empty cups, plates of uneaten food, decorations that now seemed to mock us. The fog machine was still running, filling the room with artificial mist that made everything look like a nightmare. Marcus stood in the center of it all, his vampire costume suddenly looking ridiculous. I turned to face him. How could you do that? My voice was steady despite the tears. How could you humiliate me like that in front of everyone? He started pacing, his hands in his hair. How could I? How could you? Standing there, flirting with every man in the room, inviting them to... I was talking about a foam sword. I screamed, a prop! How could you possibly think I was doing something inappropriate? Because you said it. He whirled on me. I heard you. Everyone can touch it. And what else was I supposed to think? You were supposed to trust me. The words ripped out of me. You were supposed to know me well enough to understand that I would never, ever betray you. We argued in circles. I showed him my crafting supplies, the foam pieces in my workroom, the YouTube tutorials saved on my laptop. I pulled up my phone and scrolled through weeks of progress photos, the sword in various stages of completion. Look, I shoved the phone at him. Look at the dates. I've been working on this for weeks. I posted about it in my crafting group. Diana knew, Beth knew. I told you about it. He looked at the photos with hollow eyes, but I could see him struggling. He wanted to believe me, but something held him back. Pride, maybe. Or something darker. Even if that's true, he said finally, his voice cold, your behavior was inappropriate. You were surrounded by men, laughing, touching things, being provocative. The words hit me like ice water. Provocative? I stared at him. I was sharing my hobby. Having a conversation. That's not provocative, Marcus. That's being a normal human being. In that costume, letting them touch, it's a costume. It's Halloween. And they were touching a foam sword. I was shaking now, rage mixing with heartbreak. This isn't about the sword at all, is it? This is about control. About your paranoia. About whatever's been eating at you for months. Don't turn this around on me. You've been different since the promotion. I pushed forward. Distant, suspicious, always checking your phone, always watching me like you're waiting for me to do something wrong. I've tried to be patient. I've tried to be understanding. But this? I gestured at the destroyed party around us. This is unforgivable. He stood there, jaw clenched, refusing to meet my eyes. I want you to leave, he said quietly. Stay somewhere else tonight. I can't even look at you right now. Something died inside me in that moment. I went upstairs, changed out of my costume, packed a bag. When I came back down, Marcus was sitting on the couch, head in his hands. He didn't look up as I walked past. I drove to Diana's house, my vision blurred with tears, still wearing smudged Halloween makeup. When she opened the door and saw my face, she just pulled me inside and held me while I cried. I woke up on Diana's couch the next morning, my phone buzzing nonstop. Text messages from people I barely knew. Missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. My social media was exploding with notifications. What's happening? Diana emerged from her bedroom looking worried. I scrolled through my messages, my stomach sinking with each one. Then I saw it, a text from Lisa, Tom's wife. I'm so sorry. The rumors are everywhere. Richard's wife is telling people a completely different story. Call me, oh God. I felt sick. Diana read over my shoulder. Her face went pale. That lying bastard. By Monday morning, everyone in Marcus's office knew a version of what happened, but it wasn't the truth. Marcus had called Richard right after I left, giving him the story from his perspective. A perspective where I was inappropriate with multiple men, where I'd disrespected him publicly, where I'd shown my true colors, Richard told his wife Margaret. And Margaret, who'd never liked me, who'd always been cold at company events, spread it like wildfire. I learned the details from Sarah, who'd heard from a friend who worked in Marcus's building. According to the rumors, I'd hosted a party where I openly flirted with Marcus's colleagues. Some versions said I'd made sexual advances. Others claimed I'd been drunk and out of control. One version even said Marcus caught me in a compromising position. None of it was true. But truth didn't matter. The story was too juicy, too scandalous. It spread through the office, then to their social circles, then to people I'd considered friends. I called Marcus. No answer. I texted him. The rumors aren't true. Please, you know what really happened? Tell them the truth. Read at 10:23 a.m. No response. I sent him screenshots from my crafting group, messages from weeks ago where I'd posted photos of the sword, asking for advice on the paint technique. I sent him Diana's testimony. I even sent him a message Beth wrote, confirming she'd seen the whole thing and it was completely innocent. Read, no responses. Why won't he answer? I stared at my phone like it was a bomb. Diana's face was hard. Because he knows he's wrong. He knows he destroyed you over nothing and he can't face it. Sarah came over that evening with James. I can't believe what people are saying, Sarah said, looking horrified. James and I were there. We saw the whole thing. It was completely innocent. You were just showing off your crafting work. Should we call Marcus? James offered. Tell him he's got this all wrong? I shook my head. His mind is made up. The worst part wasn't even the rumors. It was the silence from people I'd thought were friends. When I called Emily from book club, she didn't answer. When I texted Jenna from my crafting group, she left me on red. At the grocery store, I ran into Mrs. Peterson, our neighbor who'd been at the party. She'd seen everything. She knew the truth. She turned and walked the other way when she saw me. I stood there in the cereal aisle, tears streaming down my face, holding a box of granola, feeling like my entire world had collapsed. Beth showed up at Diana's place with bags of food and a fierce expression. He's going to realize he's wrong, she said firmly. When he calms down and thinks rationally, he'll see the truth. He has to, but days passed. Then a week. Marcus locked me out of our joint bank accounts. He changed the security code on our house. He wouldn't respond to any form of communication. He was treating me like a stranger. Like an enemy. Like someone who'd betrayed him, when I'd done nothing wrong except be proud of something I'd created. 2 weeks after the party, Tom called me. I thought you should know. Marcus isn't doing well. I was sitting in Diana's apartment surrounded by legal documents. I'd hired a lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia who specialized in divorce cases. She'd looked at my situation and said, "You'll need witnesses and documentation to counter the rumors." This could get ugly. What do you mean he's not doing well? I asked Tom. He's falling apart at work. Missing meetings. Calling in sick. Yesterday he showed up looking like he hadn't slept in days. Tom paused. Richard pulled him aside. I think he might be in trouble. Part of me felt satisfaction. Another part, the part that still remembered loving him, felt sad. You'll need statements from everyone who was at the party, Patricia had said. Anyone who saw what really happened. Tom and Lisa agreed immediately. So did Sarah and James. Beth and Kevin wrote detailed accounts. Diana compiled everything, creating a file that proved my innocence beyond any doubt. But Marcus's downfall wasn't about me gathering evidence. It was about his own choices, his own spiral. Beth called me 3 weeks after the party. I heard something from Kevin's friend. Marcus went to a bar and confronted Jake. Jake from his office? Yeah, accused him of trying to steal you. Jake tried to explain that nothing happened, that you were just showing everyone a prop. Marcus took a swing at him. Security had to break it up. I closed my eyes. Oh my God, it gets worse. Word got back to their office. Richard put Marcus on mandatory leave. Marcus's mother, Carol, called me a few days later. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Please don't hang up. Her voice was thick with tears. I know my son. Something's wrong with him. He won't talk to me. He's saying horrible things about you, but they don't sound like you at all. What happened? I told her everything. The sword. The conversation. The misunderstanding. The public humiliation. The rumors. Carol was silent for a long time. Then she sighed, a sound full of decades of disappointment. That boy's paranoia has gotten the better of him. His father was the same way. Always suspicious, always assuming the worst. I'd hoped Marcus would be different. I'm sorry, I said, though I didn't know what I was apologizing for. Don't be. This isn't your fault. He destroyed something beautiful because he couldn't trust it. Just like his father did, she paused. I love my son, but what he did to you was unforgivable. I understand if you can't forgive him. I don't think I can. I don't blame you. Tom and Lisa invited me to lunch. They looked uncomfortable but determined. We've tried talking to Marcus, Tom said. He won't listen. He's shut everyone out. Richard's wife is the one spreading most of the rumors, Lisa added, her voice angry. She's always been a gossip. But those of us who were actually there know the truth. We've been telling people the real story. Thank you. It was all I could manage. We're on your side, Tom said firmly. What happened at that party was a massive misunderstanding, and Marcus's reaction was completely out of line. Way out of line. Their support meant everything. But it didn't fix the fundamental problem. My husband had chosen to believe the worst of me. He'd chosen paranoia over trust. He'd chosen to destroy me rather than listen, and that betrayal cut deeper than any affair ever could. The text came exactly 1 month after the Halloween party. Can we meet? Please, I need to talk to you. I stared at Marcus's message for 10 minutes. Diana looked over my shoulder and frowned. You don't have to see him, I know, but I need closure. We met at a coffee shop neither of us had been to before. Neutral ground. When I walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost weight. His clothes hung off him. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. He looked like a man who'd been living in hell. Good, part of me thought viciously. He stood when he saw me, started to reach for me, then stopped himself. We sat at a corner table, coffee neither of us would drink sitting between us. I talked to everyone who was at the party, he said quietly, not meeting my eyes. Tom, Jake, even Richard finally admitted what he actually saw. He paused, like the words were being dragged out of him. I know now that you were talking about the sword. That it was innocent. The silence stretched between us. He looked up, and I saw tears in his eyes. I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. The stress at work, the pressure, I snapped. I heard you say those words, and something in my brain twisted it into something it wasn't. I sat there, feeling nothing. Just empty. I've destroyed everything, he continued, his voice breaking. My job, my reputation, our marriage. Richard told me I need professional help. He's right. I've been paranoid, jealous, irrational. He reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I pulled away. I want to fix this, please. Can we fix this? I looked at the man I'd married. The man I'd loved for 5 years. The man who'd shared my bed, my dreams, my life. And I felt nothing but emptiness. Do you understand what you did to me? My voice was steady, cold. You humiliated me in front of 30 people. You kicked me out of my own home. You spread lies about me, destroyed my reputation, turned mutual friends against me. You wouldn't listen to reason. You wouldn't look at evidence. You chose to believe I was a cheater, a liar, someone who would disrespect you publicly. I know. He was crying openly now. I was wrong. I was so terribly wrong. Sorry isn't enough, Marcus. I leaned forward. You showed me who you really are. When things got stressful, when you felt insecure, you didn't trust me. You didn't communicate. You didn't give me the benefit of the doubt. You destroyed me without a second thought. And now you want me to what? Forgive you because you finally listened to reason? Please, he was begging. Actually begging? I'll do therapy, couples counseling, whatever it takes. I'll do anything, I shook my head slowly. The problem isn't that you need therapy, though you do. The problem is that I can never trust you again. You proved that your love for me is conditional, that your respect for me is fragile, that when push comes to shove, you're capable of cruelty, of destroying someone you claim to love. Don't do this, his voice broke. Don't throw away 5 years of marriage over one mistake. I stood up, gathering my coat. The words I'd been preparing for a month finally came out, clear and final. You threw it away, Marcus. Not me. You threw it away the moment you decided to believe the worst of me. You threw it away when you humiliated me publicly. You threw it away when you spread lies. You threw it away when you refused to listen, refused to look at evidence, refused to give me basic human decency. I love you. He said it like a prayer. You don't love me. You love the idea of me. You love having a wife who makes you look good. But you don't love me, the real me. Because if you did, you never could have done what you did. I walked out of that coffee shop and didn't look back. Watching Marcus's life fall apart from a distance was surreal. I heard updates through other people, Carol, Tom, Beth, like watching a slow-motion car crash. Richard didn't renew Marcus's contract when his mandatory leave ended. Too much drama, Tom told me over coffee. Plus, his performance had tanked. Richard said he couldn't trust him to handle client relationships anymore. Marcus applied to other companies in the same field. None of them called him back. The story of him attacking Jake at a bar, combined with his erratic behavior, had spread through professional networks. He was unhireable. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my life in ways I never expected. Diana helped me find a small apartment. It wasn't much, a studio with barely enough room for my crafting supplies, but it was mine. No one could kick me out. No one could make me feel unwelcome in my own space. You should really start that YouTube channel you talked about, Diana suggested one evening. You're incredible at prop making. People would love to learn from you. I thought about it for a week. Then I bought a ring light and a decent camera. My first video was titled The Halloween Costume That Destroyed My Marriage. I told the whole story. Showed the sword. Explained the miscommunication. Talked about the consequences of jumping to conclusions, of not trusting your partner, of letting paranoia destroy something beautiful. The video went viral. Within 3 days, it had 1 million views. Comments poured in, thousands of them, overwhelmingly supportive. This exact thing happened to me. My ex never trusted me. Thank you for sharing. Men's paranoia and insecurity destroy so many good relationships. I'm sorry you went through this. That sword is amazing. Please make more videos. Your husband is an idiot. Brands reached out. Craft supply companies wanted to sponsor me. Other prop makers asked for collaborations. Within 2 months, I was making more money from my channel than I'd ever made at my old administrative job. Patricia finalized my divorce papers. Marcus didn't contest anything. He'd withdrawn into himself, barely responding to legal documents. He's basically given up, Patricia said. This is going to be straightforward. Carol called with updates that made me sad despite everything. He's living in a small apartment, working odd jobs. Uber driving, food delivery. He's in therapy, but I don't think it's helping much. He knows he destroyed the best thing in his life and he can't get past it. The social consequences for Marcus were perhaps the cruelest karma. Margaret, Richard's wife, the gossip queen who'd spread lies about me, eventually learned the truth. Multiple people at that party had started sharing the real story. When Margaret realized she'd spread vicious rumors about an innocent woman, she was mortified, trying to save face. She told everyone the truth. Marcus had catastrophically misinterpreted an innocent conversation and destroyed his marriage over nothing. Now, instead of me being the villain, Marcus was labeled paranoid, unstable, abusive. The man who destroyed his wife's reputation over a foam sword. Tom told me that Jake's formal complaint about the bar incident went on Marcus's record. His professional reputation was completely ruined. I almost feel bad for him, Tom admitted. Almost. Beth saw him at the grocery store. He looked terrible, she reported. Hollow, defeated. He was buying instant meals for one, and he just looked so empty. I felt no satisfaction in his suffering. But I felt no sympathy either. He'd made his choices. He'd refused to trust. He'd refused to listen. He'd destroyed me publicly, gleefully, without a moment's hesitation. These were simply the consequences of his actions. "You're doing amazing," Diana said one evening, watching me edit a video. My channel had grown to 500,000 subscribers. "Look at what you've built from the ashes of that disaster," I smiled. "I'm actually happy. For the first time in years, I'm genuinely happy." "You deserve it." My content expanded beyond prop making. I talked about recognizing red flags in relationships, about rebuilding after betrayal, about standing up for yourself when falsely accused. My comment section became a community of people sharing their own stories, helping each other heal. I'd found my purpose in the ruins of my marriage. 6 months after the Halloween party, I stood outside the courthouse, divorce papers signed and finalized. The spring air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of flowers from nearby gardens. I took a deep breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. Diana stood beside me, her hand on my shoulder. "How do you feel?" I considered the question carefully. "Free," I finally said. "Sad, but free. That's good. That's healthy." My YouTube channel had grown to over 500,000 subscribers. I'd expanded my content, talking about more than just crafting. I discussed toxic relationships, rebuilding self-worth, the danger of paranoia and jealousy. My comment section was full of people sharing their own stories of being wrongfully blamed, finding strength in shared experiences. Last week, a major crafting company offered me a partnership deal. Next month, I was speaking at a convention about turning trauma into creative success. Carol called occasionally with updates I didn't ask for. "Marcus moved to another state," she said, sounding tired. "He's trying to start fresh. New city, new job. He's working in a warehouse now. It's honest work, but it's not what he trained for." She paused, and I heard her sigh. "I love my son, but what he did to you was unforgivable. I understand why you couldn't stay. I understand why you can't forgive him." "Thank you for understanding," I said gently. "You were always kind to me. You deserved better than what he gave you. I hope you find someone who treasures you the way you should be treasured. I found myself. That's enough for now." The last time I saw Marcus was completely by accident. I was at that same coffee shop where we'd had our final conversation, meeting with a potential sponsor. I looked up from my laptop, and there he was, standing in line, looking older and more tired than I remembered. Our eyes met across the room. Time seemed to stop. He raised his hand in a tentative wave, his expression full of regret and longing. I nodded politely, acknowledging his existence, then turned back to my laptop. There was nothing left to say. No words that could undo what he'd done. No apology that could heal what he'd broken. He'd made his choice that Halloween night. He'd chosen paranoia over trust. He'd chosen to believe the worst. He'd chosen to destroy rather than understand. And I'd made my choice in this coffee shop. I'd chosen myself. Chosen freedom. Chosen a future without someone who'd proven he didn't truly know me or trust me. That night, I finished editing a video about my journey, from the Halloween party disaster to building a successful business and life from scratch. As I uploaded it, I glanced at the wall of my studio apartment. The sword hung there, gleaming under carefully positioned lights. The same sword that had been the catalyst for everything, the misunderstanding, the public humiliation, the divorce, and ultimately, my transformation. I'd spent 3 weeks creating it to be the centerpiece of a warrior queen costume. Now it was a reminder of something more important. That sometimes the things we create with love expose truths we need to see. That sometimes destruction is necessary for rebirth. I'd gone to that Halloween party dressed as a warrior queen, hoping to reconnect with my husband. Now, 6 months later, I was actually becoming one, stronger, wiser, independent, and finally free from someone who'd never truly known me at all. My phone buzzed. A comment on my latest video. "Your story gave me the courage to leave my toxic relationship. Thank you for being so honest." I smiled and typed a response. This was my purpose now. Not trying to prove my innocence to someone who'd already condemned me. Not trying to save a marriage with someone who didn't trust me, but helping others find their own strength. Their own voice. Their own way forward. The Halloween party had destroyed my marriage. But it had given me something better. Myself. The end.